Kamusta? Mabuhay! Magandang gabi and welcome back to MG and Diego. Ako po si Ovela and this is the first video that I am making after Quebec has implemented curfew. You know, so we are not allowed to leave the house after 8 p.m. from 8 p.m. to 5 a.m. But anyway, we are here today to react to a different type of video. We are not gonna react to a music related content. No. Today we're gonna figure out if the Philippines is a third world country. I thought that this topic was very interesting because I come from a third world country, and that is Algeria, okay? Third world country, the term is not negative to me, okay? Because there are a lot of positive things that you can only find in third world countries. And yeah, I just want to see what this video is going to propose in terms of arguments concerning this topic. But before we start, please consider following me on Instagram at Music Game News. And without further ado, let's get to it.
Is the Philippines a third world country? What do I think? What do Filipinos think?
That's more interesting.
And is it a good idea to hire people there? So a year ago, I posted a video about why I hire people in the Philippines, and we talked about it being a...
Yes, I saw that video too. If I enjoy this video, I might react to that other video as well as to why he hires people from the Philippines.
Third world country. I got hundreds and hundreds of comments requesting that I change that and that I call it a developing nation.
Yeah, apparently that's the proper term nowadays used to describe a third world country. It's less negative, right? When you say a developing country. So they're on their way to becoming a developed country. Yeah, it's just a nicer way to say it, you know what I mean? But it doesn't change the facts.
And that definitely describes what I saw when I went there last November. And so they are definitely a developing country. I mean, they have the technology, they have the skyscrapers, they have the internet. My team does amazing work.
They have the internet, but trust me, obviously my channel revolves around Filipino content, which means that I talk to a lot of Filipinos, okay, that live there in the Philippines, Manila, Cebu, and Filipinos that live in Canada, and they told me their experience with the internet, and most of them say it's crap, okay? So I don't know. And hey, internet in most developing countries is crap. Like in Algeria, it's horrendous as well. So I'm not talking specifically about the Philippines, but it's just the internet usually in developing countries is not that great. I mean, the internet even in rural areas of developed countries is still not that great.
Highly educated, so they are the developing country. When I think of a third world country, I think about people that live remotely, that live in huts, that live in the jungle, that don't have running water, that don't have electricity. And you know, there are so many islands on the Philippines that I'm sure there are millions of people that are still third world in the Philippines. There's just thousands and thousands of islands. But the area that I went, you know, within several hours radius in both ways of Manila, you know, there were freeways, there were gas stations, there's fast food places, there's skyscrapers, there's internet, there's free Wi-Fi, there's convenience and growth.
So for a guy like me who grew up living a little bit everywhere, you know, it's funny to me to hear people like this, you know, say, oh, I went to the Philippines, oh, I went to Kenya, or I went to, I don't know, you know, Colombia, and ooh, I found roads, I found freeways, I found buildings. Well, duh, do you think they're living in the, I don't know, like 3,000 years ago? It's just funny.
Grocery stores And I don't consider that third world, but definitely a developing country. One of the reasons why, even though you have all of these amenities or all these resources, is they still have their struggles. They have internet shutoffs, they have power outages. When they have hurricanes, it's really devastating to them.
Oh my God, power outages. I struggled, well, we struggled with that for 5 years when I used to live in Kenya, Nairobi, man. It would happen at least once or twice a month. And not because of hurricanes, it's just because, you know, the infrastructure is just poor over there. And it's very frustrating. So we had to have backup generators that make a lot of noise, and it's so annoying. But yeah, like, you know, I've lived most of my life in developing countries, so I'm used to this stuff. Like, when I go to the Philippines, it's not gonna be odd to me, you know?
That country. I guess a hurricane is devastating to any country.
Yeah.
Let me put it this way. I mean, minimum wage is really, really low in the Philippines. In fact, let me bring up my computer here. Okay, so I had this on my screen earlier. Let me just show you where the Philippines is. All right, we come across the Pacific Ocean. There we are, Philippines. Tons of islands. Apparently there's like 10,000 islands in total. Manila is the most populated. There's other big cities like Davao down here. In November, I'm excited. I'm gonna spend a few days in Manila.
That's not true. They're not quite there. They don't have 10,000 islands. It's close to the 10,000, but it's not 10,000.
And I'm gonna come down here to El Nido.
El Nido.
And have some book writing time. But I got off track. We're coming here looking for minimum wage. One thing that I found that was really helpful was this map. You see that according to this color code, you know, the darkest regions is up here, the $10 to $16 an hour, down to the blues that are the $5 to $10 per range, all the way down here to like this light purpley color, and then we get gray for no data or no minimum wage. So we see that Canada and Australia in parts of Europe and England have the highest minimum wage. The United States is a little bit lower than that. You see, you know, some countries down here in South America and in the Middle East. Oh, I noticed Japan over here. But then, you know, the color starts to get lighter and lighter and lighter. And notice that kind of the lightest purple, you see lots of this through Africa. You see some things here through India, Mongolia. But you see the Philippines right there, the Philippines. And if we go down and we check, that looks like, you know, the minimum wage of $0 to $1 per hour. So it depends on what part of the Philippines you're in. I'm sure if we zoomed into a whole map of the Philippines, you'd see that, you know, in the heart of Manila or
But then again, the basic amenities in these countries where the minimum wage is low is also low, right? Like the basic needs, you know, food and stuff is not that expensive.
The heart of another big city in the Philippines, incomes or minimum wages are higher than that, but in other places it's lower. Besides the low minimum wage, it's actually really hard to find a job in the Philippines that pays really good. Now, a good job, what people are willing to do for $400 a month, they're willing to leave their home and family for 6 months at a time, to go on a cruise ship or to go to another island and work a job and send that money back home. They're willing to really make a huge sacrifice.
This reminds me of Canadians that are willing to leave their home, leave their families, and go up north where it's even colder and where people tend not to want to go there, you know, because, you know, they want to go there because the money is really, really good. They go there for like, I don't know, 5 years, 10 years, make a ton of money, and then they come back to Toronto and Montreal and have a good life.
For $400 a month. So that's a great opportunity if I were to step in and offer them more. Say I paid them $500 a month and they could work from their home and they only had to work 40 hours a week.
That would be great.
And they could have a flexible schedule so they could dedicate time to family and to their hobbies and whatnot. That is a dream opportunity for them. I mean, that website that I've mentioned in other videos, virtualassistanttool.com, there are 200,000 people from the Philippines that have filled out a profile there and let you know all of their skills, saying, hey, I would love to work for an American boss. I'm willing to work for $350 a month. Please hire me. I'm willing to work for $500 a month. Please hire me. I noticed I got off track again from the topic. Is the Philippines a third world country? Well, I have another perspective. When I was there last November, there was this amazing mall. In fact, we went to the top floor of this mall. There's a great restaurant there, and that's where I met my team for the first time. A very elegant, fancy dinner. But right outside the mall, I needed to catch an Uber and go back to my Airbnb.
But you guys, so you guys have Uber, but you guys told me not to use Uber and to use another brand. I forgot the name, but it's apparently more popular than Uber.
On the other side of this wall was this big, massive area of slum. It was like crumbled buildings.
See, that's exactly the same thing in Nairobi, for example. You got this fancy part of the city with huge skyscrapers. You know, it's fancy, it's beautiful, it's shiny. And on the side, you got a lot of slum, you know, huge slum area. Actually, in Nairobi, I think has the biggest slum in Africa. And it's called Kibera, which means huge.
There was extension cords going, and you could see a fan inside of this half-survived building and a curtain blowing. People were living in this slum, and I just thought it was the most interesting contrast.
Yeah.
When I think of a third world country, I mentioned that I thought about people living in huts, but I still thought of them.
No. See, that's not the case anymore. That's not a third world country, people living in huts. That's more like, almost like sedentary? I think that's the term you used. Like, I've seen people living in huts in Kenya, Nairobi. But no, a third world country is just a country that's trying to become developed, so a developing country. And you can actually see it in the infrastructure and the urban landscape, you know, a lot of slums and a lot of inconsistencies.
Like being happy and thriving and having food to eat and I don't know. The contrast was actually really surprising to me, that right across this wall from this fancy, ornate, amazing, beautiful, like you go in the mall and there's Rolex and all these high brands, more elegant than the malls in Utah, actually.
And do you know what's the first thing that strikes me when I go to a developing country is the lack of order. When you come to Canada, for example, there's just one developing country I'm mentioning, you notice like this, really quickly, the order and people following rules and guidelines, you know. When I go back to my country, or when you go to Nairobi, you just see people that don't follow rules, don't follow guidelines, and the way they build their houses, their buildings, the infrastructure is so freaking messy, you know. It's because the roots, you know, they try to jump steps and they don't want to learn the root of just knowledge to build things from the ground up, you know. It's unfortunate.
And then right across the wall was this slum, you know, lots of dirty looking pets, you know, no sidewalks, no grass, no healthy trees, just all this rubble and lots of families with pinned up blankets living there. And I don't know why I'm telling you this. I'm just kind of letting you know that there are some third world parts even in the developed part of the Philippines. And I'm sad about that. I'm hoping that the work that I'm sending to the Philippines, the money that I'm providing there, even though it's a great blessing to me, even though it's a lower amount than I would need to have to hire people like that here, my hope is that I'm helping to elevate the economy there, you know, in my small way of hiring 14 people and giving 14 people jobs. So with that, if you're an American or...
Okay, it was interesting, but in my opinion, I'm pretty sure we can find more interesting videos about this topic concerning the Philippines and other countries. And I feel like these type of reaction videos have to be done with another person or a couple more people so that you can actually create a debate, you know. But yeah, it's very interesting. I did not see the time pass, you know, it really flew by. It's 7 minutes long, but it was very interesting. The quality of his video is great, the quality of his audio is great, and I like the tone of his voice, you know, it's very soothing, so it was very enjoyable. But yeah, I cannot wait to go to the Philippines, and I don't know if a lot of you know this, but like I said, yes, it's gonna be a great and amazing and new experience when I go to the Philippines, but when I talk to my Filipino friends here in Montreal, and share stories and everything, you know, they can tell that I've lived that life, you know, like I've lived in a third world country, so I know what to expect from a third world country. I'm not gonna be taken advantage of, you know, because I've lived all that, you know, with my family. So yeah, I cannot wait to go to the Philippines. Oh my God, I just can't believe that as soon as I wanted to go, the pandemic hit. That was crazy, man. That was crazy. Maybe in 2021. I highly doubt it, because I really don't think that 2021 is gonna be very different from 2020. I'm not trying to be pessimistic here. I'm usually very an optimistic person, but you know, I think at least the first half of 2021 is going to be very similar to 2020. So hopefully maybe by the end of 2021 things will go back to normal. So if I'm being hopeful and optimistic, I'd say I'll be able to go to the Philippines in 2022. We'll see. But it is what it is, you know? Anyway, this was a great video. Let me know in the comment section below your thoughts. Maraming salamat po. Thank you so much for joining me. It means the world to me. Take care of yourselves. Have a great day. Don't forget to smile, and I will see you in the next video as usual. Peace. Thank you for watching. Subscribe here and please like the video to show your support and appreciation for my work, and turn on the notification bell to be poked for future content. Yayayum!